Welcome to the Widowed Mom Podcast, episode 350, Why Grief Feels Like Brain Fog.
Welcome to the Widowed Mom Podcast, the only podcast that offers a proven process to help you work through your grief, to grow, evolve, and create a future you can truly look forward to. Here's your host, Master Certified Life Coach, Grief Expert, Widow, and Mom, Krista St-Germain.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today we're talking about something almost every widow experiences and almost no one is warned about. Grief brain, widow fog, that frustrating, disorienting sense of why can't I think like I used to? And if this has been happening to you, I want to say this clearly right up front. You are not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. This is not who you are now. What you're experiencing actually makes a lot of sense. And in this episode, we're going to talk about why grief feels like brain fog, what's happening in your nervous system, how we make it harder than it needs to be, and how to work with it instead of fighting it. First, a little update on my life since I haven't given one in a while. My daughter is home for the semester, which makes my heart so happy. She was in the Czech Republic last fall and then in Argentina, and now she's back home. Looks like she'll be here through midsummer, and then she'll probably go back to the Czech Republic for work and for school. My youngest is starting his second semester of college and loving it, and that's fun to watch. I'm dating someone and having the very best time getting to know him. I'm sure I'll talk about that more in the future at some point. And of course, coaching, especially in Mom Goes On, especially with my Mom Goes On Masters members, continues to be truly the best job on the planet, like truly. Okay, grief brain. Let's talk about what it looks like, what you might be thinking as you're experiencing it. I really wish someone would have warned me about grief brain or widow fog. So if you've ever thought, I used to be sharp, now I can't remember why I walked into this room. I'm staring at my computer. Nothing is happening. My boss is going to find out that grief has wrecked my brain. I feel slow, spacey, not fully here. I'm making dumb mistakes I never used to make. I can't read and retain information. Processing, making decisions feels hard. You are definitely not alone. I hear this from widows all of the time. Highly competent widows, by the way. CEOs, nurses, teachers, engineers, women who ran households. Suddenly, we are forgetting appointments. We are missing emails. We are putting milk in the pantry and losing the keys yet again, which I can't even tell you how many times I did in grief fog. Also, reading. So frustrating to not be able to read and retain information. I experienced that so many times. Then we have a really scary question that often shows up in our brain, which sounds something like, what if this is permanent? What if this is my new normal? What if this doesn't go away? Those questions can create more problems than the widow fog itself. So let's talk about what's actually happening. First of all, not a character flaw, not a sign of weakness, not a sign of you doing anything wrong in grief. This is your nervous system doing what your nervous system was designed to do. Grief brain is not a failure of anything. It is simply a survival response. When your person died, your nervous system experienced a massive rupture of safety. From your body's perspective, their death wasn't just sad, it was actually threatening. And so your nervous system was asking, am I safe? Is the world predictable? Can I relax? And the answer was a resounding no. So your system did what it's designed to do. It shifted into a protective mode. Again, I did an episode a couple of episodes ago on your nervous system. You might go back and listen to that one if you want to learn more. But just put simply, when our nervous system is regulated, when we feel safe, we live mostly in what polyvagal theory calls ventral vagal. And that's where focus lives and memory works and planning happens and creativity flows and we feel social and connected. And then grief pulls us out of that state. And some widows move into very intense sympathetic activation. So anxiety and racing thoughts and overwhelm and trouble concentrating. And then sometimes we notice that we drop into dorsal vagal, which is that kind of numb, flat, disconnected, slowed, just want to stay on the couch and not interact with the world kind of feeling. So we either get maybe overstimulated and feel overactivated, like we need to fight or flight and get away from something, or we just kind of want to freeze. And it might look like a functional freeze, but it's still got that freeze energy to it. And then some of us are going back and forth. Sympathetic activation, dorsal vagal, back and forth. That alone can help you understand and have some compassion for why your brain feels so unreliable in early grief, especially. We are not meant to be productive when we're in survival mode. We are not meant to do high-level thinking or remember things in survival mode. We are just trying to conserve energy and survive. So think about this. The part of your brain that is responsible for organization, decision-making, multitasking, right? Working memory, executive functioning, that the highest part of your brain, that requires a lot of energy. Doing any of those things requires a lot of energy. Grief is also metabolically very expensive. It requires a lot of energy. Your brain is trying to process what happened, the loss, the threat, the identity change, the uncertainty, all of the pain. So doesn't it make sense, thank you for the body that is so beautifully designed, that it would divert resources towards survival, right? Your brain is not giving you widow fog because it's a bad brain. It's a good brain, and it's prioritizing survival over efficiency. And that's why it's so much harder to access that higher part of your brain. That's why decisions feel harder. And that's why concentration drops. And that's why it feels harder to learn things. And you can read the same paragraph 7 times and it doesn't feel like it sticks. That is your system saying, now is not the time to do our highest level thinking. Now is not the time to optimize. Now is the time to survive. Take all of our energy, put it towards survival. All right. That's what's happening. And then sometimes, best of intentions, we come along and we make it harder. We make it more difficult. It's not so much about the fog that we're experiencing itself as much as it is then about the stories we tell ourselves about what the widow fog means, about what we make it mean that things feel foggy, that we don't feel like ourselves. And we tell ourselves, other people seem fine at this point in their grief. What's wrong with me? I should be better by now. I'm losing my edge. Am I going to get fired? I don't know that I can trust myself. Something is wrong with me. These are the ways that we talk to ourselves. Is this my new normal? Am I always going to be like this? And those thoughts make it harder. Those thoughts create unnecessary suffering. So, what I want you to hear, widow fog does not mean anything about you. It doesn't mean you're regressing. It doesn't mean you're incapable. It doesn't mean you've lost your edge. It doesn't mean you'll never feel sharp again. It means your system is doing the best it can. Grief is a full body experience. There's nothing we can do about that. We are not in charge of how our system receives the experience of grief. We are in charge of how we take care of our system as we are grieving. So let's talk about how to support yourself in hopefully a way that doesn't feel punitive, right? In a way that feels compassionate and helpful. So we don't want to be pushing harder. It is not helpful to shame ourselves. It is not helpful to try to fake it until we make it and pretend that we should be functioning the same as we were before a person died. That none of that helps. What does help, though, a few things. One, get it all out of your head. Maybe you didn't have to write things down before. Okay, that's fine. I love that for you. And this ain't that. So let's write it down. One trusted system. Reminders, put it in your phone, get a to-do app. Do not expect yourself to carry the same cognitive load that you expected yourself to carry before. Okay, it's not going to be as easy for you to juggle all of those things in your head as it used to be. So we want to get them down on paper. Get a system that works for you, whether it is a piece of paper that you just write everything down on or a notepad. It's a planner. It's an app in your phone. It's one system that you use where you put things that you need to remember into, and you can trust that system. I do not recommend Post-it notes all over the house. So get it out of your brain, write it down, use reminders, and don't beat yourself up about it if you're not used to doing that. This is temporary and it's going to pass, but we got to get through it. Consider how you can co-regulate. Okay, so how can we take good care of your nervous system? How can we love your nervous system? I talked about this in the podcast episode I did on how to regulate your nervous system after losing a partner. It was a couple of episodes ago. Even something like listening to the podcast, right? If you find my voice calm and steady, which a lot of people tell me that they do, listening to this podcast can help bring your system back towards safety. It doesn't have to be this podcast. It can be anything. Put yourself in a community that feels supportive to you. Get yourself around people that feel loving to you. Get yourself in a place where co-regulation is possible, meaning your nervous system is around another nervous system, even if we're not in the same physical space, but right, we are interacting as we are right now. And your system senses the safety that my system feels. And that helps you. And your partner was doing a lot of that for you, probably before they died, and you may not have fully appreciated that. And I don't mean that you weren't grateful for it. I mean, you probably didn't even understand that that was part of the benefit of being in a partnered relationship. So we can write things down. We can use co-regulation. We can create some gentle structure. And I'm not talking about routines that you must follow exactly. I'm talking about, can you give yourself some simple rhythms that help your nervous system feel safe? Do you remember hearing how children value routine, right? Children find knowing what's coming next helps them feel relaxed and a little bit more safe. The same thing is true for us. So how can we give ourselves some routines, not this is how I maximize productivity right now. That's not what I'm talking about. But how do I give myself some simple routines? So maybe a good place to start would be a nighttime routine. So maybe you turn your phone off at a certain point in time. Maybe you drink a certain tea before you go, and then you brush your teeth, and then you get into bed. And, if reading is something that you're still able to do, maybe you read. If it's not, you watch a little TV or something, but you get yourself a predictable schedule that you at any point in time kind of know what's coming next. So it's structure, but it's gentle. Then instead of asking, why can't I do this? What's wrong with me? When is this going to get easier? Because it's the answers to those questions they're frustrating. They're impossible to answer. Ask yourself this: besides my person, what would make this easier right now? Right? We're not going to argue with the widow fog. We're just going to accept that it is part of grief for many women, humans, not just women. And instead of, why can't I do this? Why is it like this? Why isn't my brain working? Right? Which is arguing with it. We're going to ask ourselves a question that drops the argument and helps us figure out a way to support ourselves through it. So besides my person, what would make this easier right now? And the reason I added the besides my person is because I know that very often, especially if you are in earlier grief, that when you ask yourself, what would make this easier right now? The first thing that comes to mind is my person. My person would make this easier right now. And I know that, and I know that's not possible. So besides my person, what would make this easier right now? What do I need? Genuinely listen to the answer and go with it. And it might surprise you, right? What you might actually find that you need is a drink of water. You might actually find that you need less stimulation. You need to shut some things off and have some peace. You might find that you need more stimulation, and that peace is actually hard to feel safe in. So it's not about coming to a particular answer as much as it is about pausing to ask the question. So instead of berating yourself or resisting the widow fog, we're going to switch to something that is accepting and supportive. Besides my person, what would make this easier right now? And maybe what would make this easier right now is for you to talk to yourself in a kind way. Maybe it would be, oh gosh, this is really hard. I love you. This is so hard. It's so frustrating to not be able to think like we're used to thinking. I love you. This is going to pass. It is going to pass. This is not going to last forever. We can remind ourselves of those things. Okay? So widow fog is not permanent. It is state-based. As your nervous system experiences more safety, as your body processes the intensity of this loss, as you start rebuilding and meaning kind of starts coming back, you will feel more clear. It will not happen all at once. It will not be like a switch that we just flip. It will not be linear. It will probably feel like 2 steps forward and one step back, but it will return. I've watched it happen hundreds, if not thousands of times with widows that I have worked with. Okay. So it will come back. So there's no sense in stressing about it. We notice it, we normalize it, we can laugh about it a little bit, right? We can figure out how to take really good care of ourselves as it happens, but it will go away. Clarity will come back. That fog will lift. So if widow fog has been scaring you, I hope this brings you a little bit of relief. You are not doing anything wrong. You are not failing grief. Grief is moving through you. You are learning to be with grief. And your job is not to fix your brain. Your brain is doing what it was designed to do, right? Your job is to support your system as things get back to the non-grief normal. All right? Okay. That's what I have for you this week. Remember, I love you. You've got this. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. If you like what you've been hearing on this podcast and want to create a future you can truly get excited about even after the loss of your spouse, I invite you to join my Mom Goes On coaching program. It's small group coaching just for widowed moms like you, where I'll help you figure out what's holding you back and give you the tools and support you need so you can move forward with confidence. Please don't settle for a new normal that's less than what you deserve. Go to coachingwithkrista.com and click Work With Me for details and next steps. I can't wait to meet you.